So, Amelia, tell me about yourself.
I'm someone who is I'm from Ipoh and I'm 19. I'm from Sunway University. I like swimming and tell me about myself. Sorry. So, hey there! As we all know, interviews are just pure terror. Whether you're interviewing for a job, a post, a society, or whatsoever, interviews just get on our nerves and it makes us feel anxious as hell. Me, I'm just a student and I'm not really any professionals in interviews, but I can say that of all the interviews that I've ever been to in my 19 years of life, I've actually never really feared any. Except for that one time, the first interview where I just started speaking gibberish the whole time, but you know what, that's the past, so I'm not gonna count that as a failure. But see, the thing with me is that I may not be the best when it comes to peers and competing with other competitors, but I can say that I am actually really good at bullshitting my way into stuff, and especially into interviews. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what interviews are all about. It's just complete BS. Do you know that? Now, although I must clarify first, if you don't think that this is accurate, then just ignore this and forget that you've ever seen this video or have ever seen me talking, or just skip through or whatever it is, because I'm someone who likes talking and I really like sharing. So I'm solely doing this for my own entertainment purposes, because I really find it funny when I talk about my own past experience and also sharing stupid thoughts with people. Please do not bash me. Thank you. So without further ado, let's get right into the first 5 interview tips. Let's go! So what I'll usually do is that the moment I step into the room, I would first approach the interviewers and go on and greet them and say, hey, good morning, I'm Amelia, blah blah blah, it's very great to be here, something like this. And then I'll immediately let them know a quick background about me. So instead of saying like my age or like where I'm from, which could be seen easily on the resume or the CV, I'll just tell them like some of my small personal interests, one small thing, like for example my hobbies or like something interesting or personal that has happened to me in the past that could be interesting to talk about. So note that when you're talking about this, like talking about something in the past, you can't be telling them that, oh, my hobby is eating, or like it has to be relevant to the situation. You can't be telling them some random shit that's not relevant to the situation, or try to incorporate humor when you do this, like when you're approaching them. Now the key here is that you will want your interviewer to feel your confidence by initiating the interaction, because normally, like it normally gives an interviewer a good impression about you and allows them to perceive that you are someone who is proactive, which is something that most organizations would want. So like instead of waiting for them to like greet you or like do something else, you greet them first, which is something that most people don't do because they are nervous and they let their anxiety overwhelm them and they forgot about this personal approach. Because come on, face it, like when you're meeting new people, you would automatically do something like this. You would approach them first instead of letting them approach you. So what you need to do is treat your interviewers like your friends, like a stranger that you will want to meet, instead of someone that's with a great boundary between you and them. And then one more thing is that it is good to note that you don't talk too much at the start. So it's just a brief introduction. So because some of the interviewers, if they are someone who is like more laid back, or they would dislike you and think that you are too talkative, which is something that has happened to me in the past, where they felt like I was too talkative when they gave me my interview feedback, but I still managed to sneer that talk. Yep. So in short, your energy really matters. You can't go in looking so slacky, or like looking like very down, depressed, despondent, or just looking very nervous, like you're meddling with your hands. Then you give out those anxious vibes with interviewers. Don't really want to. So if you go in and you show your vibrant energy to them, it already gives a good start to the interview. And note this, a lot of people think that the interview starts the moment the interviewer asks you questions, but it's false. Interview starts the moment you step into the room. From the door, when once you open the door, the interview immediately starts. So you have to take this into your, take this as an advantage and start pitching for yourself the moment you get into that room. For this, let me put on my glasses. So, okay, let's go back to the first question. So the interviewer asked, hey, tell me about you. So instead of saying that I'm proactive, I'm diligent, I'm a team player, blah 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 blah, or you have to, I express it and I prove it. So the correct way should be, I was once someone who's really introverted, but my past experience have taught me that being in your own comfort zone only jeopardizes opportunities that you could have. So through this epiphany, I started mingling around and joining clubs and societies to expand my network. During this process, I managed to build out my leadership skills by leading my team to various international victories, such as the championship that I've received as stated in the resume. And every leadership journey comes with conflict, and because of those up and down, I managed to polish my conflict resolution skills, to which I comprehend that everyone has a different working style, and that's what makes teamwork so much more challenging but so much more rewarding. Nailed it! So this is what you ought to say instead of just saying that you are this and you are that. Express it, show it, storytell, explain, elucidate it instead of just stating through pure facts that you could have stated in your resume. So this is your chance to shine and tell them, to hard sell yourself. That's why I'm saying that interviewers are just pure BS, because the moment you step in, you're actually hard selling yourself. So you're like a salesperson. All you need to do is just hard sell, but not too much hard sell there, because if you do too much hard selling like salesperson do, you get annoyed and it's cringy. That's where the skills of interview comes in. So anyways, this right here is how I always answer introductory questions, and like questions like strength or weaknesses. So I barely wait till the person, wait, what's that sound, man? Did you hear it? It's like dit sound. Oh my god. Anyways, I believe that instead of answering, waiting for the interviewer to ask me about strength and weakness questions, I believe that this is one of the best way out there to impress your interviewers. Because the thing is, everyone could say good things about themselves. Everyone could just say that, I'm an active person, I am a team player, I am a coordinator, but they never really explain how they are, one. Can you tell me why you're diligent? Tell me why you're dedicated, why you're meticulous. Why? Prove to me, because if you're telling me this, I'm the interviewer, I've been listening to this shit for a few hours. So they don't need to hear you repeating this again. So what they would need to be able to do is to perceive your qualities, not hear your qualities. It's like when you're writing an essay, you can't just state one statement and just end full stop, right? You always elaborate, so that's how you nail the interview.
So yeah, back to the third tip. Also, forgive me because I actually went out to get some drinks just now, so I got Auntie Anne's and lemonade. But yeah, let's go back to the topic because I was too thirsty talking of all the talking just now. So then I went out and get some drinks and it was cut off just now. So don't blame me for that. And so let's say if you have 5 accomplishments, you pick that 2 best and elaborate instead of just listing all 5 out that they could see with their own eyes in the resume. So it's a little bit related to interview tip number 2, but it's also something that you should do whenever you get questions like, what is your strength and weakness, or your leadership skills, etc. etc. So let's jump straight right into it. I mean, just go back and change first.
So yeah. So many people tend to list out all the cool stuff that they have ever done ever joined or participated in the past, which they think would be able to impress the interviewer with their great accomplishment. What we tend to forget is that there are many more people out there most probably are even more impressive than us. And so what's the point to list all your accomplishments during the interviews when you could elucidate and like elaborate on it? So what you ought to do is to pick the greatest achievement out there that you have. Side note, if you don't have an achievement, then you gotta find a way to turn this around and probably just bullshit more into your way in. But come to think of it, if you don't really have any achievement, you wouldn't even be shortlisted into the interview in the first place.
Bruh.
But yeah, off topic, back to it. So elaborate on that 2 achievements that you are going to pick. But if or even it could even be one. Let's say if like you only have 1 achievement, but that's the greatest achievement is something that other people have never done, or it's a niche area. That's even better. Just elaborate on that thing. You let them know that how you being in the team have managed to make everything better, and how your team and yourself have gone through from there. So even if you're not the group leader, like you're not leading the team or whatsoever, if you're just being part of the team and you would like to say as if it's something that's very great or that's very reputable, even though it's not. So let me tell you a way how to bullshit this in. So whoa, oh my god, I'm trying to teach people how to lie, but seriously, what okay. Anyways, so the way you can say that is that instead of like mentioning that you are just part of the team, instead of saying that you are just a normal member of the team, you have to mention and say that, oh, by being in that team, we always use we, because when you use we, they don't really care whether you're the leader or not, because when you use we, even if you're a leader, use we, even if you're not, use we. Because even if leaders use we, it shows that you are someone who is working as a team instead of just taking all the credits to yourself. So use we when you're stating, use we, and then explain how you and we, like us, have managed to gone through, like accomplish something that would not have been able to be accomplished if it wasn't for your synergy. So the thing is, to wrap this tip up, I just want to say that interview times are just really precious, like the period of your interview. So if you only leave stuff that are already there in the freaking resume, they're probably just thinking that you're boring and bland and just, wants you to fuck off soon. That if you bombard someone with a lot of stuff, their mind probably wanders, so they just floats away. And bye, gone is your first impression, gone is your credit, and they probably just think that, okay, I'm not gonna want this person anymore. So for this, it might be a little bit tricky and it's complicated to achieve, but because you need to use the right words. But if you are able to do so, you further let them know that you are equally important to them as they are to you. Now, frankly speaking, although we need the job, and they need you too, and if you need the job, show them their value. If you don't, they'll just simply replace you and think that you are tangible. Now, let's say if they ask you, what would you do if you weren't given this offer? So let's put this in a case scenario again. Let's say you're applying a place in a university. So what you need to do is you will answer them with, truth be told, if I weren't given this offer, I would have applied to other universities, as the experience and environment I look for in my education could only be achieved in only a few amount of universities. I wouldn't be demotivated by this and would definitely aim to get an opportunity elsewhere. Although I do believe that the expertise and the resource that I need could definitely be more abundant in your university. But if I weren't given this chance, I would still try my best at aiming for others. Although I do hope that this won't be the case, as I'm really amazed by your universities and would like to be part of your team or part of your institution. Now see right here, what you're able to show them that you need them, but if they do reject you, you could still find your values elsewhere. Now, although this may sound a little bit cocky at first, but when interviewers hear this, subconsciously they are able to hold on to the thought that you are someone above average and not someone just mediocre. So don't try to sound too arrogant in this, but try to show them that show them why they need you and what you can do for them, not only what they can do for you. Because at the end of the day, if someone is hiring you to help them, or if you're hiring for recruiting you for a position, they would want you to contribute to them, as well as at the same time they could help you and in your learning pathway. So yep, that's for interview number 4.
Right on to the 5th tip, just chill with BTS behind, because that's just one of the few things that is actually presentable other than all my freaking mess around my room. So for the 5th tip, make them remember you. Give them your best final impression. So for this, regardless whether you are going for a job interview or a school society interview, they probably have a few hundred of interviewees a day. So after your long ass interview, the moment other people comes in, their memories of you will slowly fade, and in the end, you become weight to them. Like after imagine, just think about this. If you are the interviewer and like you need to see 50 people a day, would you remember that one person who was in the interview during that mid session? You won't, right? You probably just remember the last person. Or like, if you are the last person, they'll probably forget about you right after your interview session ends and they have to go back. So how do you counter this problem? And the first thing you can do is that you can perhaps you could just give them a contact card, like a card with a name card with your contact details there. Or you could do something that I would always do afterwards, and especially this is also something that if you look through other professional interview tips, they will encourage you to do so. So right after you have finished the interview, you go back to how you contacted them initially. Like it can be an email or like a phone contact. So after the interview, contact them and tell them how grateful and like gratified you are to be part of the interview session, and that you would want to look forward to a good news. So most people, like according to statistics, if you go online and you search, most interview professionals say that their interviews never really do this. They think, because a lot of people tend to think that it's unnecessary, but truth be told, after I've encountered with a few professionals in interviews and I've asked them about their opinions regarding this, they say that they do recall people who send them a thank you note afterwards. Like it doesn't have to be a thank you note, actually it does have to be a thank you note, but it doesn't have to be much. So like in the email, like let's say you contacted them through email initially, so just email them and say that, okay, thank you, you are glad to be part of this interview session, I look forward to hearing good news from your side and being part of your team, something like that. But remember, when you do this, remember to state your name or write something down that was mentioned in the interview that you think you'll be able to impress them with. Like if something occurred during the interview session, is like something funny or like something that triggered both you and the interviewers, write that down in the email so that they'll be able to recall. Because you know how active recall works, right? So like when they see your email, they'll be able to remember that, oh, so this was the person that did something hilarious just now, or like, oh, so that was the person who taught herself programming at age 15, or like, oh, so that was the person who got forced into photography and ended up being a photographer, if that's something you mentioned in the interview. So whatever you mentioned in the interview that those interviews had like a wow thing, mention that in the email so that they'll be able to recall when they see the email. That's really important, something that most people don't do, but if you do it, trust me, you have the advantage there. So yeah, so these are the 5 interview tips that I'd just like to share. And it's not much, but it's something that if you could really think about it, you'll be able to use it for every other interview sessions, especially the first tip. Actually, no, those 5 tips are equally important. But anyways, those 5 tips, if you'll be able to use it and utilize it and try to find your own way into it, because whether you are just someone who is shy or someone who is not outgoing, whenever you go into an interview, you have to act like you have to be productive, because in being introverted, the thing is, being introverted does not mean that you are afraid to engage in social contacts, you know. It simply just means that you dislike it. But in interview sessions like this, you need to give an exception, because let me put this in the scenario. If you are introverted and you are given like a chance to talk because you receive an prestigious award and you are asked to give a speech, would you give a speech? You still give a speech, right? Even though it's in front of a public or like 500 people, you still do it, because you know that it's important to you. You know that it's something like that's accredited to you. So it same goes to interview session. If you're telling people that you're an introvert and you dare not initiate, or you don't want to be too outgoing during an interview session, then you're just giving excuse to yourself not to succeed. But anyways, this is all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.